So I'm pretty sure that this N7 is a rogue AI, and that's a really bad thing. Like I mentioned in my last video, all of my theories use a hint provided by the Mass Effect team as the main foundation. And once again, the N7 being a rogue AI foundation is based on this tweet by Director Gamble. In the tweet, the poster asked if the N7 is a person or a robot/AI. And crafty good old Gamble replied with, "What's a person?" Now ordinarily, this wouldn't have stood out to me as anything more than a traditional Gamble troll tweet to further send us all into a frenzy. But this one sent my theory gears into overdrive. Specifically, this tweet connected to something I read in Mass Effect Initiation. Now I'm going to be diving into some major spoilers for the second Andromeda book, Initiation. So if you want to avoid those spoilers, turn back now, and then feel free to come back after finishing the book. Mass Effect Initiation was released 8 months after Mass Effect Andromeda, but the events take place before the Andromeda Initiative launches. The part in Initiation that reminded me of Gamble's tweet was this paragraph where Sammy, an integratable AI, describes his purpose to the main character, Cora. In it, he says, "Without organics, I would have no purpose. In order to be a person, I need people." Later down the page, Cora goes on to ask herself if Sammy even qualified as a person. By the way, don't worry about the distinction between Sammy and the traditional Sam from Andromeda. Sammy is basically a less sophisticated version of Sam, which is fully explained in the book. Initiation also had some mind-blowing revelations near the end of it, but we'll discuss those in a little bit. So Initiation, which former creative director for Andromeda Mac Walters helped write, was tackling questions like what the term person could mean. And Gamble was prompting us by asking the very same question. I personally think there's something to this connection, which is why I think this N7 might warrant the very valid question that Gamble prompted us with. What's a person? Gamble clearly felt the need to point out that this N7 might not qualify as a person by our standard definition from the games, and we have a literal character from Andromeda asking herself if an AI is a person. That's why I believe that this N7 is a fully functioning AI, and a rogue one to boot. Before I reveal who I think this figure is, let me show you the one feature that cemented them being an AI for me. The new N7 helmet. The helmet always seemed off to me, and I couldn't exactly pinpoint why, until I tried putting Conrad Werner's head inside it. Why did I do this, you ask? I was attempting to see how a human head could fit inside the helmet, because originally I thought that the N7 might simply be an enhanced human of some sort. However, while trying to fit Conrad Werner's head into it, it just wasn't working. First, I matched the proportion of a traditional N7 helmet with the new slick helmet based on where the neck would begin on a human for both. If we match Conrad's eyes to the visor on the traditional N7 helmet, everything works out fine. He can see, his ears match the outer ear areas, and his full head fits comfortably in the helmet. However, moving him over to the new slick helmet, things don't add up. His eyes aren't where the eye slits are located on the helmet, and there's a ton more space near the top that borders on excessive. Moving Conrad down to match the eye slits on the helmet makes even less sense. So either this N7 is an alien with a very different head anatomy compared to human size, but still has human-looking legs, arms, torso, etc., or this is an AI shaped like a human, which makes Gamble's tweet on whether a robot/AI qualifies as a person make a whole lot more sense. The ventilation ports I pointed out in a previous video could be speakers for the AI to speak out of, and they definitely need these speakers because maybe the helmet isn't a helmet. Maybe this is the AI's actual face. Now, basing a huge claim like this N7 is a rogue AI on a single tweet doesn't make much sense. However, I'm not just basing it off of one single tweet. I'm also basing it off of the book I've recently finished, Mass Effect Initiation. This book confirmed for me a theory I've had for about 2 months now on who the main villain in the next Mass Effect will be, and it further solidifies my previous video's theory that I think the main villain will be this fake N7. To explain this all fully, it's finally time to reveal who I think this N7 is. And to do that, we're gonna dive into the mind-blowing revelations in Mass Effect Initiation. Throughout the book, Initiation features plot threads that predominantly tackles AI enhancing humans via both synthetic and integration with AI, and a variety of human-centric groups that want to get their hands on an integratable AI like Sam. It basically pushes the boundaries on what the definition of a person could mean at every turn. What's very interesting, though, is the final section of the book where the leader of the Andromeda Initiative, Garson, speaks to Cora about the true purpose of the Andromeda Initiative. In Mass Effect Andromeda the game, we learn that while Garson leads the initiative, it's really funded by a mysterious individual or group called the Benefactor. Without the Benefactor's financial assistance, the initiative would never have left the Milky Way. In Alec Ryder's memories, we're led to believe that the Benefactor's true motive behind funding the initiative is to send a portion of the Milky Way species away to avoid the Reapers wiping everyone out. However, in Initiation, which was released 8 months after Mass Effect Andromeda, Garson herself reveals the initiative's true purpose and the Benefactor's true motives. In the final conversation she has with Cora, Garson reveals that the Systems Alliance and other pro-human groups were dancing to the tune of an invisible conductor. She goes on to mention that the initiative has been permitted to pursue the endeavor of creating an AI because there are those who strongly believe that the power of AI should be available in the Milky Way, especially to pro-human groups. The biggest reveal of all, though, that absolutely blew my mind, is when Cora says to Garson that the Andromeda Initiative is basically a cover to create an AI, and Garson does not deny her claim. Again, it's so crazy that it warrants repeating. The Andromeda Initiative's true purpose was to create a fully integratable AI, i.e., creating Sam. We'll discuss more of this crazy revelation in a bit. After this bombshell, Garson goes on to say that she isn't the invisible conductor in the Grand Symphony. The real prize the conductor covets is Alec Ryder's creation of Sam, and that they're willing to do anything to see their plan come to fruition. So the entirety of the Andromeda Initiative is being led by an invisible conductor who is also potentially pulling the strings of the Systems Alliance, and they desperately want Alec Ryder's creation, i.e. Sam. Well, I wonder who the invisible conductor could possibly be. As I see it, there's only one person that it could be. The very person that permitted the initiative to create a fully functional AI, the Benefactor. The Benefactor originally recruited Alec Ryder to the initiative in the first place, fully funded the initiative with the true purpose of creating Sam, and who also ordered Garson to be killed, further confirming that she most likely knew too much. Garson most likely figured out that the Benefactor was the invisible conductor, probably before she even left the Milky Way, judging from her conversation with Cora. So it makes sense if the Benefactor wanted to kill Garson because of that knowledge. So how do all these Andromeda and Benefactor revelations relate to the N7, and why do I think they're a rogue AI? In my last video, I established that I'm pretty sure that this N7 is fake, and most likely the main villain in the next Mass Effect. And after reading about Garson's bombshells on the invisible conductor, coupled with my previous examination of the potential plot threads for the next Mass Effect, I'm fairly confident that the Benefactor is going to be the main villain. Putting 2 and 2 together, I've come to the conclusion that this N7 is also the Benefactor. And adding Gamble's tweet into the mix, where he implied this figure might not meet the traditional traits of what we know a person to be, I'm going to assume that the Benefactor is a rogue AI. I specifically think that the AI has gone rogue since it'd make sense if their identity is indeed the Benefactor. The Benefactor's intentions, if they are indeed the invisible conductor, is to spread AI throughout the Milky Way, and only another fellow AI would want to do something like that. Now, spreading AI throughout the Milky Way might not sound as bad as, say, a Reaper War where every species gets harvested, but in my opinion, this is way worse. In fact, if integratable AIs like Sam is spread throughout the Milky Way, it'd be really, really bad. Here's why. Alec Ryder was very particular with who he shared Sam with, as he knew the risks of Sam being in the wrong hands. With Sam, you could greatly enhance someone's strength, speed, and biotic power, or even create your own enslaved army of cybernetic humans, both of which happened in Initiation. While Sam can be used for good, as we've seen in Andromeda, he can also be used to expire a person on the spot, no questions asked, which is exactly what happens with Ryder. And we now know that the Benefactor probably wants this type of AI technology out and about in the Milky Way. Yeah, that's really, really bad. If multiple species throughout the Milky Way have SAMs in their head that could cause them to decease on the spot, that has epic levels of unhinged AI written all over it. And to make matters worse, the Benefactor might have already stolen Sam from the Systems Alliance. Near the end of Initiation, Cora and Ryder discover that versions of Sam may have been duplicated and sent to who knows where. After all of this analysis on the Benefactor, knowing that the Systems Alliance also wanted to get its hands on Sam, and coming to the conclusion that this N7 most likely breached the Systems Alliance, I'm thinking that what we saw in the teaser is my new worst nightmare. If the Systems Alliance got its hands on a duplicated version of Sam, and the Benefactor, as we know, desperately wants it, they most likely went to the Systems Alliance, breached their security, and stole it themselves. So yeah, if any of this is even remotely close to the truth of what we saw on N7 Day, the Milky Way is screwed. Unless, of course, there's a couple of very awesome people out there who just so happen to know a thing or two about saving the galaxy / cluster. I've been fairly adamant that Shepard will be the main character in the next Mass Effect. And with all of the what's a person and organic synthetic plot threads flying around, I'm betting that Ryder will be a pretty integral part of the story too. Ryder themselves at the end of Andromeda developed into a form of human that could interact with Remtech that required an organic / synthetic component to access, and they did so without Sam. So my guess is that the next game's main characters will be twofold, Shepard and Ryder. I'll definitely be fleshing out this particular theory in future videos. And there's another thing that the N7 could have stolen, which would relate to the relay from last year too, but I'll also leave that thought for a future video. In case it isn't already obvious, the theories that I've discussed in this video are just that. Theories. Nothing is confirmed, so remember to take all of my analyses with a ship full of salt. With regards to my previous theory on the Benefactor potentially being a member of the Jardan, I'll table that for one of my many theory update videos. If you somehow made it all the way here and were really confused when I said that the N7 was fake and probably the main villain in the next Mass Effect, then check out this video over here for all the details. See you there.